The space was silent. The stars looked like cold eyes watching from a distance. The lonely ship drifted near a dead planet. Its surface cracked and burned like it had suffered a great war long ago. Inside the ship, the explorer sat in his chair. His name was Captain Jaren, a human traveler who had crossed many worlds. He had seen strange things before, but nothing had prepared him for what waited on this broken planet. When his scanners caught a faint energy signal, Jaren decided to land. The signal was weak, almost like a heartbeat fading away. He followed it down to the ruins of an old alien city. Once, this place might have been full of light and life. Now it was nothing but dust, broken towers and shadows. As he walked through the ruins, he heard nothing. No wind, no birds. Only his own footsteps echoing in the silence. And then he saw her. In the middle of the ruins, on a stone platform, sat a girl. She looked young, fragile, and strange. Her skin had a faint silver glow. Her long hair, pale and thin, flowed like threads of light. She wore no shoes, only a simple dress made of some alien fabric. Her hands rested on her knees, and her eyes, big, deep, and filled with sadness, stared forward without blinking. But she did not speak. She did not move. She only breathed slowly, as if waiting for something. Jaren froze. Who was she? How could she survive here alone on a dead world? He looked around carefully. There were no other life signs, no guards, no machines. Only her. Then he noticed the strange object around her neck. A collar. It was glowing faintly, carved with strange symbols that pulsed with blue light. Some of the marks looked alien, curved and sharp. But others looked human. Words. English letters. Jaren's heart skipped a beat. How could human writing be here? On a collar worn by an alien girl. He stepped closer, slow and careful, as if he was approaching a sleeping lion. The girl's eyes shifted. She looked at him now. Not with fear, not with anger, but with silence. Her gaze followed him, heavy and sad, like she wanted to say something but could not. "Hello?" Jaren whispered. His voice sounded too loud in the dead city. "Can you hear me?" No answer. The girl just stared. Jaren felt a strange pull, like she was asking for help without speaking. His eyes returned to the collar. The glowing words seemed to shift, as if reacting to his presence. He leaned closer. His fingers brushed against the smooth surface of the device. It was warm. He could feel it humming softly like a heartbeat trapped inside metal. Then the collar blinked. Lines of text appeared across it, forming and dissolving like smoke. Jaren's eyes widened. It wasn't just alien language, it was mixed. He could read part of it. Project Silence. Do not remove. His breath caught in his throat. Project Silence? The name sounded human. It sounded official, dangerous, and wrong. What was a human project doing on an alien girl's neck? The girl blinked slowly, her eyes never leaving his. And in that moment, Jaren felt something powerful, something he could not explain. Sadness, fear, hope, all of it, pouring into him, as if her silence carried more weight than words ever could. He wanted to ask 100 questions. Who was she? Why was she here? What was Project Silence? But his throat felt dry. The collar seemed alive, watching him, waiting for him to do something. Jaren touched it again. His fingers traced the glowing words. And then, without warning, the collar opened more lines of text. It was a message. A warning. This being must remain silent. Voice is dangerous. Do not unlock. Jaren froze. His heart pounded hard in his chest. Dangerous, silent. Was the girl a prisoner? Or was she a weapon? He stepped back, his eyes darting between the girl and the collar. She watched him quietly, her expression unchanged, but a tear rolled down her cheek. A single tear glowing faintly in the dim light. Something inside Jaren broke. This was not a weapon. This was not a monster. This was someone who had suffered. He clenched his fists, torn between fear and compassion. The collar's warning echoed in his mind, but the girl's tear burned deeper in his heart. He took a deep breath. He had to know more. He leaned closer again, determined to read every symbol, every line. His eyes scanned the collar, desperate for answers. And then he saw it, a final line of text appeared. A line that made his blood run cold. If you read this, it is already too late. Jaren's eyes widened. His mouth went dry. The collar pulsed brighter, as if it had recognized him, as if it knew he had read its secret. The girl's lips parted slightly. For the first time, it looked like she wanted to speak, but no sound came out. Jaren staggered back, his heart racing. The ruins seemed darker now, the silence heavier. He had only begun to uncover the truth, and already he wished he hadn't. The ruins were silent, but Captain Jaren's heart was not. It beat fast like a drum inside his chest. He could still see the glowing words on the collar burned into his mind. If you read this, it is already too late. Too late for what? Too late for him. Too late for the silent girl? He swallowed hard and looked at her again. She sat still, her pale face calm, her silver skin glowing faintly in the dim ruins. But her eyes, those deep, sorrowful eyes, never left him. "Who are you?" he whispered. His voice cracked with fear and curiosity. The girl blinked slowly but said nothing. Not a single sound left her lips. She simply looked at him, like a statue carved from sadness. Jaren stepped closer. His eyes scanned the collar again. The symbols pulsed, shifting as if alive. He brushed his fingers across the smooth surface, and suddenly more words appeared. This time the letters were clear. Human letters. The collar spoke. Property of Project Silence. Do not remove. Subject class. Unknown. Status. Contained. Jaren's blood ran cold. This was not just some alien artifact. This was human design. The sharp edges of the letters, the style of the words, he knew them well. Military code. Research division. Something secret, something buried. His mind raced. Why would humans create this? Why would they put it on her? He whispered to himself, This isn't alien. This is ours. The girl tilted her head slightly, watching him as if she understood his words even without hearing them. Her eyes glistened and another tear slid down her cheek. Jaren clenched his fists. He wanted to tear the collar off her neck right then and there. But the warnings echoed in his mind. Voice is dangerous. Do not unlock. He forced himself to stay calm. If you can't talk, maybe this thing can. He activated his wrist scanner, pointing it at the collar. The device hummed, translating the alien parts of the symbols. Words formed on his screen, half broken, half clear. The translation read, This being carries a voice not meant for this world. When the voice is heard, worlds will tremble. Containment is survival. Jaren stared at the message, his stomach twisting. A voice that could make worlds tremble? What kind of voice could do that? Was she really that dangerous? But when he looked at her again, he saw no monster. He saw only a young girl, alone, trapped and silent. A girl with pain in her eyes and chains around her neck. He took a deep breath. I don't believe it, he said softly. I don't believe you're a danger. I think they were afraid of you. The girl blinked again, and this time her lips parted. A faint sound came out, not words, not even a whisper. Just a breath. But it was enough. It made the collar spark with blue light, tightening around her throat. She winced, closing her mouth instantly. Jaren's heart sank. The collar wasn't just a warning. It was a prison. It was punishing her for trying to speak. No, he growled. He slammed his fist against the device, and for a moment the light flickered. He saw another flash of text appear. Voice and voice memory. Do not let the past be spoken. Jaren froze. His breath caught in his throat. Voice equals memory? Did that mean her voice carried memories? Could she speak the past into reality? Could she show the truth of what happened here? His mind spun with possibilities. If she spoke, maybe the world would see her pain. Maybe the truth about Project Silence would finally come out. The girl lifted her hand, slow and gentle, and touched his wrist. Her skin was cool, soft like moonlight. Her eyes begged him. She didn't need words. He understood. She wanted to be free. Jaren swallowed hard. He could feel the weight of the decision pressing on him. If he freed her voice, he might unleash something terrible. But if he left her trapped, he would be no better than the people who put that collar on her. His scanner beeped again. Another hidden message appeared deeper in the code. This one was shorter, sharper, and terrifying. Final protocol. If subject attempts release, activate purge. Jaren's eyes widened. Purge, that could only mean one thing, death. The collar was not only a prison, but also an execution device. If he tried to free her the wrong way, she might die instantly. His chest tightened. He stepped back, pacing. Damn it! What did they do to you? The girl lowered her hand and looked down, her shoulders trembling. For the first time, Jaren saw her body shake, not from cold, but from fear. He stopped pacing. He couldn't stand it. He knelt in front of her, forcing his voice steady. Listen, I don't know who you are. I don't know what they did to you. Jaren's blood turned to ice. The ruins around him began to tremble, small stones falling from the broken towers. The ground hummed as if machines buried deep beneath the surface were waking up. He looked at the girl. She looked back at him, her eyes wide with fear now. Whatever level red meant, it was starting, and there was no turning back. The ground shook beneath Captain Jaren's boots. Dust rained from the broken towers as deep machines inside the ruins began to stir. The collar on the silent girl's neck glowed brighter, pulsing red now instead of blue. The warning still burned in his mind. Protocol shifting to level red. Jaren's pulse raced. He looked around, searching for the source of the tremors. The dead city felt alive, like a beast waking after a long sleep. The girl clutched her knees, her body trembling. Her wide eyes fixed on him, pleading silently. She wasn't the threat, something else was. "Stay with me," Jaren said quickly, though she could not answer. "I'll figure this out." His scanner beeped again. The collar was sending out waves, signals and frequencies too strange for normal receivers. His wrist device translated fragments, memory chain. Unlock sequence initiated. Subject voice locked. Visual recall enabled. And then it happened. Jaren's vision blurred. For a moment he wasn't standing in the ruins anymore. The world around him twisted, like glass cracking into another shape. Suddenly he was somewhere else, a lab of white walls. Blinding lights. Human scientists in gray uniforms stood around a table. On the table lay the same alien girl, younger, weaker, her eyes filled with terror. The collar was being attached to her neck by human hands. Jaren's heart froze. This wasn't imagination. This was memory. He heard voices now, the first sound in this silent world. "Human voices, she is the key," one scientist said. "Her voice carries resonance unlike anything we've seen," said another. "If she speaks, it will not just be sound. It will be truth, history, reality itself will remember." The girl screamed, but no sound came. The collar lit up, silencing her instantly. She thrashed, tears running down her face, but the humans only looked away. Jaren staggered back, gasping. His vision snapped and he was back in the ruins again. The girl still sat in front of him, her eyes wet, her lips trembling. The collar flickered with new words. "Do not let the past be spoken." Jaren's fists clenched. His stomach twisted with anger. Humans did this. Not aliens. Humans chained her voice, her very memory, because they feared it. He shook his head. This is wrong. You were never dangerous. They were afraid of the truth you carried." The girl's hand lifted again, slow and delicate. She touched his arm and instantly another vision swallowed him. This time he saw a battlefield, alien soldiers fighting humans, ships burning in the sky, the air filled with smoke and blood. But then, through the chaos, the girl stood in the middle, her mouth open. Her voice rang out. Not a normal voice, but a wave of energy. It cut through the battlefield, echoing inside every soldier's mind, and in that wave were memories. They saw the war. They saw the lies. They saw who started the fire that burned both worlds. The humans panicked. The aliens dropped their weapons. For a brief moment, everyone knew the truth, but the humans in power could not allow it. They built the collar to silence her, to erase the one voice that could reveal what they had done. Jaren gasped, falling to his knees. His head pounded with the weight of what he had seen. The girl's eyes glistened, watching him as if to ask, "Now do you understand?" "Yes," Jaren whispered, his throat tight. "I understand. They weren't protecting us from you. They were protecting themselves." The collar flared again, angrier this time. New words appeared, blazing red. Unauthorized recall detected. Subject exposure limit reached. Emergency purge countdown 60 seconds. Jaren's blood went cold. No. The girl grabbed his hand with sudden force. Her grip was strong, desperate. She shook her head as if to warn him, but her eyes begged him not to leave. "I'm not leaving you," Jaren said firmly. He tore open his pack, pulling out every tool he had, scanners, wires, disruptors. His hands shook as he worked against the collar's deadly timer. The numbers ticked down. The white light swallowed everything. Jaren could not see, could not breathe. For a moment he thought he was dead. His body felt weightless, as if the universe had erased him. Then the light broke apart like glass shattering, and sound rushed back into his ears. He fell hard onto stone. Dust filled his lungs. When he blinked the blur away, he realized he was still in the ruins. The alien tower still loomed over him, broken and cold. But something had changed. The girl was standing. For the first time, she was no longer sitting quietly. Her silver skin glowed brighter. Her pale hair floated around her as if caught in invisible wind. The collar around her neck had cracked open, light spilling from its broken core. Jaren's chest tightened. He had done it. He had broken the prison, but at what cost? The ground quaked beneath him. The ruins groaned like a living beast. From the broken stones, hidden machines began to rise. Tall, skeletal constructs with glowing red eyes. They had waited for this moment, waiting for her release. The girl turned slowly, her sad eyes scanning the machines. She still made no sound. But her expression told Jaren everything. She had seen them before. The collar sparked, releasing one final warning. Its shattered voice echoed in Jaren's ears. The voice must not be freed. If spoken, the past will return. Jaren froze. He remembered the message from before. Voice of memory. If her voice was freed completely, if she spoke, reality itself might change. The truth of the past could break into the present. The machines advanced, metal claws clicking against the stone. Their eyes locked on her, ignoring Jaren. They were here for her alone. Run, Jaren shouted, pulling his blaster free. He fired at the nearest machine, sparks flying as metal tore apart. But for every one he hit, two more climbed out of the ground. The girl didn't move. She only raised her hand, her eyes glowing faintly. For a moment, Jaren thought she was going to unleash her voice. His breath caught in fear. But then she stopped. Her hand fell back to her side. She was holding back. Jaren's mind raced. Why? Why didn't she use her power? Was she afraid of what her voice would do? Or was she protecting him? He ducked as another machine lunged. Its claws scraped across the stone where his head had been. He rolled, blasting its core. The girl's eyes met his again, filled with sorrow. She didn't want to fight. She didn't want to destroy. She only wanted freedom. Jaren gritted his teeth. Fine, he muttered. If you won't fight, then I'll fight for you. He charged forward, blasting again and again. But the machines kept coming. They didn't stop, didn't hesitate, didn't even seem alive. They were guardians, cold, merciless, built only for one purpose, to keep her silent. His blaster overheated. The ruins shook harder. And then the collar flared one last time, projecting another message into the air. This one was different, personal. Recording a human face appeared. Above the collar's broken shell, a scientist, with tired eyes and a voice filled with regret. She is not a weapon, the man said. She is a witness. Her voice carries what we fear most, truth. We silenced her because truth would destroy us. Jaren's stomach turned. So it was true. She wasn't dangerous. She wasn't a monster. She was proof of what humanity had done. The scientist's voice cracked. If anyone finds this message, forgive us. We were cowards, and now it is too late. The image flickered out. Jaren looked at the girl. Her eyes were wet again, shining in the dim light. She knew the message. She had carried this truth alone for so long. The machines closed in, forming a circle. Their claws lifted, ready to strike. Jaren stood in front of her, spreading his arms wide. You'll have to go through me first, he growled. The girl's hand touched his shoulder. He turned, and for the first time he saw her lips move. She mouthed one word, stop. No sound came, but the air shook. The machines froze in place. Their red eyes flickered, dimmed, and one by one they collapsed into heaps of metal. Jaren stared, his mouth dry. She hadn't even spoken, just mouthed the word. And still, reality bent to her command. The ruins went quiet again. Jaren turned to her, breathless. You saved me. She lowered her hand, her eyes heavy with exhaustion. The collar finally shattered, pieces falling to the stone. For the first time, she was free. But before Jaren could celebrate, the earth rumbled again. This time, it was different, deeper, stronger. The sky above cracked open with lightning splitting the clouds. A massive shape rose from the horizon, dark, metallic, alive. Something far bigger than the machines. Something ancient, hidden under the planet itself. The girl's eyes widened in fear. Her lips trembled as if she knew exactly what was coming. Jaren swallowed hard, his blaster shaking in his hand. What now? The ground split apart. From the abyss, a colossal machine emerged, its body the size of a fortress, its eyes burning like suns. And then, for the first time, the girl's voice broke free. Not a word, not a scream, just a single sound, a cry. The cry shook the ruins, shook Jaren's soul, shook the stars themselves, and with it came the forbidden truth. The cry echoed across the ruins, a soundless wave that tore through stone and sky. It was not a scream of anger. It was not even a scream of pain. It was sorrow, so deep that Jaren felt his chest break under the weight of it. The machines froze where they stood, their glowing eyes flickering out. The colossal shape rising from the ground shuddered as if struck by an unseen force. Cracks spread across its metallic body, and for a moment, even the sky above seemed to hold its breath. Jaren staggered, clutching his head. The cry was not just sound, it was memory. Images poured into him again, sharper this time, clearer. He saw the alien girl's people, peaceful and bright, building cities of light. He saw humans arriving, not as friends, but as conquerors. Soldiers with weapons, ships filled with fire. The girl's people fought back, but they were outnumbered, outgunned, and then came the experiments. Jaren saw her taken, crying, reaching for her family as humans dragged her away. He saw her placed in the lab, surrounded by cold machines while scientists whispered of power, of control, of fear. Her voice was the last piece of her people's soul. Her cry was their history, their truth, and that truth was too dangerous to be heard. Jaren dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. God, what have we done? The girl stood before him, her pale hair floating around her, her glowing eyes fixed on the massive machine rising from the earth. The fortress-sized guardian roared, its metal chest splitting open to reveal a blazing core. It was waking. It had one purpose: silence her forever. Jaren forced himself to his feet, gripping his blaster. His hands shook, his body weak from the memory storm, but he refused to fall. I won't let them take you again, he growled. The giant machine raised one enormous arm. Energy crackled at its fingertips, ready to strike. The girl's lips parted again. This time she spoke. Not in words Jaren could understand, but in a language of sorrow and truth. The sound rolled out like thunder, shaking the air. The colossal guardian froze mid-attack. Its glowing eyes dimmed, its giant body trembling. Jaren watched in awe. Her voice was not only sound, it was command. It reached into the very heart of machines, into the memories they carried. She was speaking to the past written inside them. The guardian shuddered, its metal groaning. For a moment it seemed as if she had won, but then the collar, though broken, flared one last time. Sparks flew from its cracked pieces and a new message flashed across its ruined frame. Warning. Subject voice exceeds limit. Containment failed. Activate termination. Jaren's heart pounded. No, don't listen to them, he shouted, though the collar wasn't listening to him. It never would. The guardian roared louder, breaking free of her influence. It swung its massive arm down, smashing through towers, shaking the ground like an earthquake. Jaren grabbed her wrist, pulling her out of the way just in time. Stones crashed around them, dust filling the air. He coughed, struggling to see. We can't fight it head on, he said. Your voice, it's too strong, but it's killing you. We need another way. The girl looked at him, her lips trembling. Her eyes were filled with fear now, not for herself, but for him. She knew the cost of using her voice, but still she mouthed one word. Trust. Jaren's chest tightened. He nodded. Always. The Guardian lifted both arms, its core blazing like a newborn sun. The ruins shook apart, towers crumbling into the abyss. The girl stepped forward, away from Jaren. Her small figure looked fragile against the giant machine, but she did not flinch. Her eyes glowed brighter than the Guardian's core. She opened her mouth again. This time her voice poured out like a river breaking a dam. It was not just sorrow, it was everything. Love, hope, fear, pain. Memories of her people, her family, her world. The cry slammed into the Guardian like a storm. Its metal body twisted, groaned, and cracked. Its glowing core flickered, the light dimming as if her truth was tearing it apart from within. Jaren shielded his eyes. Tears burned his face. He wasn't crying from fear. He was crying because he could feel her pain, her loneliness, her endless silence finally breaking. The Guardian roared one last time and collapsed, its colossal body crashing into the earth. The impact shook the ruins for miles, sending shockwaves into the stars above. Silence followed. The girl fell to her knees, her glowing hair dimming, her strength gone. Jaren ran to her side, catching her before she could fall further. Her lips trembled. She whispered faintly, almost too soft to hear. "Help." Jaren's heart broke. Those two words carried the weight of a whole people, a whole world lost to human greed. He held her close, his voice rough with tears. "I will, I swear I will." But the earth rumbled again, deeper this time, more violent. Cracks spread across the ground, glowing with red light. The Guardian's fall had awakened something else, something buried even deeper. Jaren looked around in terror. "What now?" The girl's eyes fluttered open. She looked at him with sorrow and fear. Her lips moved one more time, forming a word without sound. "War." The ground split wide. From the depths rose more machines, bigger, darker, older. Not one Guardian, but many. Dozens. Hundreds. The ruins trembled as if the planet itself was about to tear apart. Jaren clutched the girl tighter, his voice shaking. "Then I'll fight them all. As long as it takes," but inside he knew the truth. Her voice had only begun to awaken, and the doom it carried was far greater than he had imagined. The ground was breaking apart. From the cracks, fire and light spilled out, and more machines began to rise. Not one, not 10, but an endless army. Their glowing red eyes lit the ruins like a sea of burning stars. Jaren's heart pounded in his chest. He had faced battles before, but never anything like this. The girl trembled in his arms, weak from her last cry, her silver glow fading. "Stay with me," he whispered. His voice cracked. "Please don't give up now." Her eyes opened slowly. She looked at him with sorrow, but also with something else, hope. Her lips moved, forming a single word. "Listen." Jaren froze. Then he realized. The cry she had given before had only been a fraction. She was holding back. There was still more inside her. But if she unleashed it all, could she survive? The ground shook harder as the machine army rose higher. Towers collapsed. Ash rained down, and the planet itself groaned as if tearing apart. The girl pulled away from him and stood. Her small figure faced the endless army. Her pale hair floated around her head, her eyes glowing brighter once more. Jaren reached for her. "No, don't do it. It will kill you." She looked back at him, her face calm, her eyes wet. She mouthed another word, "Trust." Jaren's chest tightened. He clenched his fists, his throat burning. "Then I'll stand with you," he said. He stood beside her even though he knew he was powerless against what was coming. The machines roared, their claws lifting, their cores blazing with light. The ground split wider and the ruins trembled like a drum of war. The girl raised her hands. Her eyes closed. And then she cried. It was not just a sound. It was a storm. The cry poured out like waves of light sweeping across the ruins. The machines froze in place as the sound reached them. Their red eyes flickered, their metal bodies shaking violently. But it was not only the machines. The sky itself cracked open. Stars flickered, dimming and brightening as if her cry reached across the universe. The very air vibrated, the ground split wider, the stones floated into the sky. Jaren staggered, tears streaming down his face. The cry was not pain alone, it was everything. Love, fear, joy, grief. The memories of an entire people lost to war. He saw their lives, their dreams, their laughter, and their final screams as fire consumed their cities. The sorrow crushed his chest, but he did not look away. He let it in. He let her truth burn inside him. The machines collapsed one by one, their cores breaking apart, their metal bodies turning to dust. The army that had risen like a storm now fell like ashes on the wind. But the cry did not stop. It grew louder, brighter, stronger. Jaren looked up at the sky. He saw stars flicker, but not from distance. He saw them remember. Her voice carried across the void, and every star that heard it trembled. The whole galaxy was listening to her pain. And then Jaren understood. Her voice was not only memory. It was connection. It bound together the past and present, carrying truth across time and space. Whoever heard it would remember, forever. The ruins shattered around them. The ground split apart, flames spilling out. Jaren fell to his knees, covering his ears, but still the cry poured into him, into everything. The girl's body shook, her silver glow flickering. She was giving everything she had, pouring out the last of her strength. "Stop!" Jaren shouted, his voice breaking. "You'll destroy yourself!" But she didn't stop. She couldn't. Her cry grew until it was no longer just sound, it was light. A wave of white light burst from her, rushing into the sky, washing across the stars. For a moment, the whole universe seemed to shine. Jaren's vision blurred. He saw faces, her people smiling, laughing, living. He saw families reunited. Her eyes opened, faint but clear. She looked at him, and for the first time she smiled. A small, fragile smile, her lips moved. He leaned close to hear her. "Thank you for listening." Jaren's chest broke. He pulled her close, holding her as if the universe itself was trying to take her away. "I'll carry it," he whispered fiercely. "Your voice, your truth. I'll carry it to the stars." The girl's eyes closed again. She went still, silent once more. But her cry still echoed in Jaren's mind, in his heart. In the stars above, the galaxy would never forget what she had spoken, and Jaren knew the war was not over. The cry had been heard, and others would come. The ruins were silent once more. The army of machines lay in broken pieces, their red eyes dark, their steel bodies turned to ash. The planet itself was scarred, split open by her cry. But now there was only stillness. Jaren knelt on the cracked stone, holding the girl in his arms. Her pale skin had lost its glow. Her silver hair lay still against his chest. She was so light, so fragile, it felt like she could fade away at any moment. "Stay with me," he whispered. His voice shook. "Please, stay." Her eyes fluttered open, weak but alive. She looked at him with the same deep sadness she had carried since the moment he first found her. But now there was something else behind it. A spark, a fragile light. Her lips moved. Jaren leaned close. They heard. Tears filled his eyes. He knew what she meant. Her cry had not only destroyed the machines, it had reached the stars. It had carried her people's story, their truth, their pain, to every corner of the galaxy. Jaren's chest tightened. Humanity could not ignore this. Not anymore. The lies, the silence, the experiments, they were all broken now. The universe had heard the voice they had tried to bury. He held her closer, his heart heavy. "Then your fight. It wasn't for nothing." The girl smiled faintly, the first true smile he had seen from her. It was weak, small, but it shone brighter than the stars above. Jaren lifted his head, looking at the sky. He wondered who else had heard it. Soldiers, civilians, leaders, enemies, friends. Every ear that caught her voice would remember. Her truth would spread like fire. The galaxy would never be the same. Suddenly his wrist scanner beeped. A signal, not from the ruins, not from the machines. From orbit, human ships, dozens of them. Jaren's stomach sank. He stood quickly, still holding the girl. Above, the sky filled with dark shapes. Warships, sleek and cold, descending through the clouds. Their engines burned like angry suns. They had come. "Damn it," Jaren whispered. He looked at the girl, who was barely conscious. Her smile faded, her eyes closing again. They would not let her live. Not after what she had done. She was too dangerous to their lies, too powerful for their control. Jaren's jaw tightened. "They won't take you." Not again. The ships began to spread across the sky. A voice crackled in his earpiece, cold and sharp. "Captain Jaren, step away from the subject. This is your only warning." He ripped the device off his ear and threw it into the dust. His hands trembled, but not from fear. From rage. He looked down at her, at the broken collar still lying on the ground beside her. The collar that had stolen her voice, her freedom, her life. He clenched his fist. Never again. The ships began to fire. Bolts of energy rained down, shaking the ruins. Jaren ran, carrying the girl, dodging blasts that shattered stone all around him. Dust filled the air. Heat burned his skin, but he did not stop. He would not let them silence her again. At the edge of the ruins, his ship waited, half buried in rubble from the quake. He sprinted toward it, his legs screaming with pain, his chest burning. Another blast struck nearby, throwing him to the ground. He shielded her with his body, gritting his teeth against the heat. When the dust cleared, he looked up. His ship was still there. With the last of his strength, he dragged himself forward and climbed inside. He laid the girl gently on the seat beside him. Her breathing was faint but steady. He gripped the controls. His voice was a whisper, but it carried all the weight of his soul. No more silence. No more lies. They will hear you, engines roared. The ship lifted into the air, rising through the smoke and fire. Enemy ships closed in, but Jaren pushed harder, weaving through their fire. His heart pounded, his mind burned with one single purpose: protect her. Carry her truth, even if it killed him. The human fleet surrounded him, their weapons locked. But Jaren did not falter. He opened the comms, his voice strong, fierce, unstoppable. "This is Captain Jaren," he said. "I carry the last witness of your crimes. She is alive, and the galaxy has already heard her voice." Silence answered him, then chaos. Voices shouting, commands clashing, confusion spreading. The fleet faltered because they knew. They had all heard it too. Jaren looked at the girl. She was asleep now, resting, her face peaceful at last. He reached out and brushed her hair gently. "You did it," he whispered. "You broke the silence. You gave them truth." The stars shone brighter above, no longer cold, no longer silent. They had listened. They would remember. Jaren felt tears run down his cheeks. Not from fear, not from despair, but from hope. For the first time in years, he believed humanity could change. He believed the galaxy could heal. He believed her voice would never be lost again. As his ship sped through the stars, Jaren held her hand. Her small, fragile fingers curled weakly around his, and he knew, deep in his heart, that no matter what battles came next, no matter how many enemies tried to silence her again, he would never let go, because she had given the galaxy truth, and with truth came hope.